Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
"26 of the best open-wheel drivers in sim racing come together to compete for the Grand Prix Turn Racing iRacing Series Championship and the $10,000 grand prize that comes along with it. In 10 weeks' time, we find out who walks away defeated and who walks away a champion.
Jerez, the second Frontera. These are the sim racers at the Turn Racing Grand Prix iRacing Series. Their 10-race mission to seek out championship points and race victories to boldly compete where few sim racers have competed before. This, an incredible track in terms of battling, where two from Bordeaux fought it out 1 week ago at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Here is where the second phase now brings itself into play. I'm Jake Sperry, I've got Kenneth Bueno, I've got Peter Mackay here alongside for the ride on terms of this action. And Peter, when we get to this circuit, we know it's not going to be the same as the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. It's going to be a lot more technical, a lot more treacherous around there. And with such a narrow circuit, everyone's going to be worried on lap one about tripping over everyone else.
Yeah, that run up to turn one, a very tight right-hander here at Jerez, is going to be really, really tricky. In general, a completely different circuit than what we saw at Spa last week. It's almost like a go-kart track, and then when you throw a 900 horsepower beast into the mix, it's going to be tough for our drivers this afternoon.
And Kenneth, when you get that understanding of, okay, for some drivers it didn't work out, the Apex Racing team, they need a bit more help in round two. You look at those who did well at the top, Florian Labigra, Gael Valero, they're at the top of the mountain right now. They've got to look down because everyone's hungry to reach the top. Staying up there's more difficult.
They are, and the storyline for Apex Racing is that they need to cohesively redeem themselves this time around, and partially in the fact that this is a more intricate, more technical circuit might play into their hands as we look at the point standings, Jake. You look at Florian Labigra with the biggest win of his career, his first in the Turn Racing Grand Prix iRacing Series, and everybody else trying to fight, but 10 points separating the top four. It's still close after round one. Round two, though, we might see some more checkups.
Yeah, that's going to be crucial. Keep an eye on Ben Fuller's extra championship point. Now, this here at Circuito de Jerez is the second round of the championship. 1 week from today, though, we start to talk oval. A complete throw in terms of what everyone else has learned to understand. But it takes a different type of skill, Peter, when you get there to understand what makes this season brilliant. You need the combination of both road and oval skill.
It's so challenging and completely different skill set required. I'm fascinated to see who comes out on top from those two oval races that we're going to see this season. Jerez circuit, it's a real gem, built in the mid-1980s with a real demand for racing in the area on both four and particularly two wheels. This is a mecca of motorcycle racing here in Jerez. And in a high-paced Grand Prix car, it's like driving on a go-kart circuit, particularly around the back of the circuit. You've actually got some quite quick corners and then some very tight technical bits as well. Really tricky. And while all the action is going on, you've got the Tio Pepe man on the top of the tower watching over it all.
You absolutely do. This is going to be a case where mechanical grip is going to be your best friend, but in a car that produces so much torque through those rear tires, you are going to be on the very edge of grip today. And that is where we're going to see drivers try and push and get what they want. Kenneth, you know, we're sitting here with an opportunity to say how amazing this race is. But as we do, we'll look at the grid. It's Pablo Espes for Wave Italy on the pole position. We'll have Veloce Vets Matt Emery to join on that front row. Ben Fuller and Przemysław Lemonek will start on row two with Michele Costantini in fifth and Carlos Fenollosa in sixth position. Over the page we go to Eduardo Leo in seventh, and your race winner from round one, Florian Labigra, is going to have to do it from eighth place here today at Jerez. Marcos Nunez and David Toft for Arnage competition will round out row five. Row six, housing Manuel Cubo Torres and Tamas Simon, the second of the Veloce Vex cars. Over in 13th position and over the page once more should be the likes of Daniel Civichabo and Yar Tayin first, then Civichabo for Stormforce Gaming in 14th, Kalen Chin and Simone Maria Marcheno are 15th and 16th. You're going to need a Superman style performance if you're Xavi Rowe. 17th is not where he wanted to qualify. Michael Janney will be his friend alongside in 18th position. That'll put Gael Valero 19th. He's got work to do to get up into the points with Jakob Behrens for IGL Coatings eRacing in 20th. Jacob Reed, Matteo Calistani, Jeffrey Decker is there in 23rd, and Charles Sears for 499 Racing in 24th position. The last two drivers, Jakub Maciejewski and Jan Hoffman, not setting times in qualifying. They will be down at the back of the field. But very quickly, let's take an understanding of what this race is and how it breaks down.
We'll look exactly at the entire field as there they are sitting on the grid. Jake, this is going to be a special one. We'll look at the race analysis before we get to the lights out and away. 33 laps here from Jerez. That's just about 90.75 miles. Pit road speed at 37 miles an hour. It's a 20-second pit delta. We've seen that play into factor before on strategy. Mandatory pit stop, of course. They're going to be switching the compounds. That's going to be a storyline all race long, and you can go 23 laps, Jake, on a tank of fuel that could get you very close to the end of this race, but it's not close enough. We'll see how creative drivers get on strategy this afternoon.
33 laps of racing, one winner at the end of it. Pablo Espes, then the number 5 car, is got himself on the pole position. Can he hold off the swarm that is there behind? That's the question to be asked. Green flag is in the air, and we are underway here from Jerez. A fantastic launch then as they start to push over towards Expo 92, the opening corner. Emery trying to push around the outside, is not going to have it. Ben Fuller will have to slot into line in third, and on the outside, Przemysław Lemonek with a power move, trying to get it done to move to second. He'll take third as they now rush up, Peter, over towards turn 4 and Cito Pons at 5.
Yeah, it gets very quick around here. They got that blind right-hander of Cito Pons, and then on to the straight and down to the newly named Dani Pedrosa hairpin. Very tight down there as well. Big braking zone. Opportunity to try and make a move. This was, of course, where Villeneuve and Schumacher came together so many years ago, but most of the drivers there getting through clean.
Yes, and this has been a very, very nice start as they now rush through turn 8 at Aspar, heading over then towards turns 9 and 10 through Angel Nieto corner itself, and then over to Palucci. A little look there from the Anash competition car, trying to find an overtake, not necessarily managing that, but this tight chicane, Kenneth, is where they're going to trip up all race long.
And they are, and this chicane sort of in the same reign as that last chicane at Circuito Spa-Francorchamps that these drivers had to deal with 1 week ago. What happened there? Ben Fuller got into an incident there with a spin. Xavi Ross also with some contact and some sort of fireworks happening there at a very tight portion of the racetrack. When you're going so fast, it can be oh so tough to try and create the space between yourself and others. Everybody running single file though. You watch Michele Costantini and company up ahead try to catch up to Pablo Espes, setting the tone early in this race.
Setting the tone's okay, but we always talk about fuel in a race like this, Peter, because the car at the front of the pack burns so much more than the car that can sit in the draft and wait. Pablo Espes, you would argue, in position number 1 is in the best position in the house. There's a little search to the inside from Matt Emery. That's not going to happen. But you have to say, if you are second in that train, you've got the best seat there. You get to sit and wait and watch as Pablo Espes will most likely have to take more fuel at the pit stop.
That's correct, and if you're Matt Emery as well, you're absolutely right. If you're in second position, you can then really control the speed. You can only go as fast as you have to keep up with the leader. If you're third or fourth in the group and the leader breaks away, then you've got a lot of work to do very, very quickly. So Emery, he's right in the control place right now, but Espes definitely not keen to let up that leading position. He wants to keep his track position at the front of the field, interestingly.
Battles are absolutely everywhere. This is the race on the bottom of your screen for 10th position. Focus on Marcos Nunez and co, who is there. David Topp in that group, Eduardo Leo, and the break starting to form around Florian Labigra. Pablo Espes with the fastest lap, a 1:47.6. He gets the purple check mark next to his name, Kenneth. That will mean an extra championship bonus point if you can hold on to that between now and the end of the race.
And when it's a 10-race season, Jake, every single point matters. And we talked about it back in 2021 when we had that battle for the championship between Martin van Lozenord and Peter Berryman. That fastest lap always came into the conversation because it's one extra point that could give you the upper hand over everyone else in the field. But surely we're going to see that change over the course of this race. And you talk about Nunez and David Topp, 9th and 10th. They finished in the top 5 last week at Circuito Spa-Francorchamps. We'll see if they have a more consistent effort this time by and also get a top 5 of their own, but they're all single file for around 9th and 10th. No significant movement, Jake. That's the biggest difference from last week and this week. This track a lot harder to make passes.
Yes, and you're starting to sense that the groups are just starting to form. Everyone's trying to stay in range of the car in front. The on-camber entry to the final corner, Jorge Lorenzo corner, for rushing on to that front stretch, climbing ever so slightly up the hill towards turn number 1 at Expo 92. This 90-degree right-hand bend as they now start to push. And again, Espes with another fastest lap in the back pocket. The gap opening out now to half a second at the front of the field. Emery might have to worry about looking behind in the mirrors because Przemysław Lemonet, Peter, is the sort of driver who 2 years ago didn't catch a break to save his soul. This season, I think with him in third position right now, he's out here to prove that he is worth his salt.
You bet he is. Yeah, he qualified, well, the last week he finished in 6th position. So a good strong score of points last week, but much better this week in 3rd place. He's got past Ben Fuller to ride with Simone Maria Marcheno with the very colourful seat behind him there as well. And wearing the yellow tinted glasses as well just protects the eyes for the long hours that these drivers spend behind the wheel.
Simone Maria Marcheno is one of those drivers who has really put the time and the effort in. 9,800 iRacing coming into this championship. He is one of the top 1, if not the top 0.5% of all iRacers out there in the world. He is legendarily quick as he goes through. Down in 13th position, he's going to have to do some strategy masterclass to move himself up through because as we have seen, there's only one real place, Kenneth, to make a pass here today. You can make it up into turn 1, as we see there, just as we check away there in front, as Przemysław Lemonet sets the fastest lap of the race. But it's either turn 1 at Expo 92 or down into Dani Pedrosa, the former Dry Sack corner. That's where you can find your overtakes today.
And that's what makes those corners so effective in the storyline of this race. If you can really only make passes there, either there's that debate of how gutsy can a driver be when it comes to getting passes done at other parts of the track, or how effective they will be at making passes in that section of the track, those very much overtaking zones. And you see some passes already happening there. And it looks like Matt Emery has taken over the race lead from Pablo Espes. That was quick. Emery to the front for the first time.
Yeah, brilliantly done. Then down the inside at Danny Pedrosa corner, as textbook as you have it, got alongside, took control of the apex and decided, you know what, I want to run away. I've spent 4 laps staring at the back of that Wave Italy machine and wanting to push his Dallara IR01 forward in this race, and he will know how important his run is going to be now as he looks to charge on forward and away. The man from Nutfield in the United Kingdom looks behind, and it is an absolute slew, Peter, behind him.
It's one constant train, isn't it? Just fantastic stuff as the fastest lap changes down in 11th. Car number 6, Manuel Cubo Torres, takes the fastest lap point away. So Emery setting up a perfect move there, coming out of Sito Pons, the fast blind right-hander that we go through now, and you head down towards the Danny Pedrosa hairpin. Great opportunity to make a move. Now, is Espes going to try and mount a challenge back again? No, not quite. But I think Lemonek's looking racy there in third. He wants to get a move on. So 6 laps of 33 complete here at Jerez, the Circuit de Jerez Angel Nieto. Matt Emery leads then from Pablo Espes. And I tell you what, Kenny, Przemysław Lemonek, he's looking strong right now.
Yeah, he is. And, you know, Jake was talking about it with Lemonek's unfinished business in 2021 where he could not catch a break, and I can recall immediately Road America, one of those races where he was running well, all of a sudden got hit in the entrance of turn 5, went around, his race went to dust. There's nothing like unfinished business, especially after 2 years. Drivers are like elephants. They hold the memory in their brain for as long as possible, and they'll never forget those moments. And Lemonek already being a little more physical in this series over the 2 races we've seen as of right now, and Lemonek doing a solid job of putting himself on the podium. As you watch the battle developing behind him, Ben Fuller, Michele Costantini looking for a better race than last week as they try to catch up to Lemonek, but to no success.
No successes just yet, but the front 4 find themselves very much sat in this game of cat and mouse. Lemonek with a little search to the inside, trying to poke the nose and see if there are any weaknesses in number 5, Pablo Espes, the man who started on pole position here in this one. Everybody's now working out what do they need to do in order to unlock and uncork this race. And a lot of these drivers are thinking about the pit stop strategy. It opens on lap 10 and you sense that it can go anywhere up to lap 23, but we're expecting maybe about lap 13, lap 14, maybe as the prime places, Peter, to make a pit stop happen.
That's what we're thinking, and we have to really keep a close eye. Lemonek goes for the move at Jorge Lorenzo corner. Can he get it the move to stick then on Espes? Little bit of wheel to side pod contact, and that's allowing Emery just key car lengths to head up towards turn 1 again. And Lemonek is going to have to give best, I think, here now. Under pressure from Fuller, Lemonek going to try and hang it around the outside, and it does cut back to the left here. Can he hang on to it? It still goes on, Jake.
4 corners side by side as they now look to try and charge up the hill. It's finally Przemysław Lemonek, the Polish driver, with an absolutely fantastic move to get up through. What's it cost him? 0.8 of a second. Here comes Ben Fuller, the man from Indiana, is now going to start looking for it around the outside of Jorge Lorenzo. Espes at risk of being freight train. Not going to happen. Michele now looks at his teammate here around turn 7.
Well, this Wave Italy racing car is under a lot of pressure, and thank goodness he was able to keep that car righted and away from Ben Fuller and Costantini. That was really close. The driver who was leading this race all of a sudden dropped back to 3rd, and that was almost cataclysmic there for Espes, Fuller, and Costantini. They're going to single file out as they head for the chicane, and once they get over to some of the final corners here, heading for Jorge Lorenzo. But that was a beautiful pass, Jake, by Przemysław Lemonek. Calculated the move and took the first couple of corners to just settle himself there and keep Espes honest. Great pass.
Yeah, and on board we go. Manuel Cubo Torres. We go on board with the man from Argentona in Spain. Has the fastest lap of this race, down in 11th position. He's got 4 championship points then. Sorry, correct, it's 5 championship points. He can stay here, Peter, but he's got an extra 1 in the back pocket. That puts him on 6 championship points for this week.
And puts him in a good spot if he can get himself into the top 10. It's, whoa, you see 5th gear coming out of Cedo Pons. That's so quick though. These cars go up to nearly 20,000 RPM, and then on the brakes, so I'm going to try and get the move done there on David Toth, and he does so. That's fantastic there from Manuel Cubo Torres. Brilliant.
And up into the top 10. He is charging in the SDK gaming car. He is really trying to run up through at this crucial stage of the race, because every position is going to matter. Through Palucci corner, setting up for the Ayrton Senna chicane. Here are your top drivers. Przemysław Lemonek then in second, chasing down Matt Emery, and he's given 0.6 of a second of a gap now, of a buffer to Pablo Espeth, because he's been looking in the mirror at the 2 Apex Racing UK cars. Alex Simpson, team boss, with a close eye on Ben Fuller and Michele Costantini, as they will be looking to try and make that progress. And as the top 2 look to escape, that gap now 0.8 of a second. Espeth in full defence, and off the road goes one of the Apex cars, and that's Ben Fuller, and there's a spinner actually has gone through, and that looks like it's one of the Ultras cars who's gone around.
Yeah, it's Carlos Fenollosa into the inside wall, and this is terrible for Fenollosa, because remember, he was involved on that lap 1, turn 1 incident at Spa last week. The bad luck continuing to mount on Fenollosa's number 28. Severe wheel damage. He has towed it to pit lane, and his afternoon from Jerez may be over.
An egg in race 1, an egg in race 2. That's not great. Eduardo Leo's deciding he wants to get involved in the action. Round the outside of 7, he tries to search. Now at Aspar corner, looks at 8. He's going to try and go. Let's get a little look though at what happened just a little bit earlier on, with how it all started and how it all fell into the places that it did. It's through at turn 1 where it starts to go. You can see why goes the Apex car, and bang, just no room on the exit, and the rear left tyre there, Peter, just implodes with the suspension caving.
Oh, well, it's very unlucky there for Carlos Fenollosa. I don't think he banked on the fact that, I think it was Ben Fuller in the Apex car coming back into the circuit, right into his path, really. So and you're so committed in these cars, you're carrying so much speed, you just don't have the time to react or to change course. So that's, again, not ideal for Apex Racing. They look to have the pace at Spa from qualifying in the early stages of the race, but strategy did not go their way at all. Costantini sitting in 3rd right now, but Fuller now dropped to 5th, and he might well have damage on his Dallara IR01.
He might do. Michele making the move at turn 1 on this lap. That entire incident has pulled 1.6 seconds away from Ben Fuller to Pablo Espeth. And the key here, Kenneth, as you watch the front 2, the front 2 aren't clear of Costantini and Espeth. It's still a 4-car race at the front. 1.5 is what you'd call the rubber band moment. Outside of that, it snaps.
You really got to make sure that you stay in that range just to be able to strike. And for Przemysław Lemonek, he's been forced in a precarious situation, because if he goes in battles with Matt Emery, they both go side by side for a couple of corners. Guess what? Costantini and Espeth are back in this fight. Lemonek needs to precisely carry this overtake whenever he's going to have the chance to, because the last thing he wants to do is fight Emery tooth and nail for this P1 spot at lap number 12, and give Costantini just free range to do whatever he wants sitting in 3rd.
And he knows that Michele Costantini came into this season arguably as the favourite, a driver who is so talented, so gifted, and has gone so under the radar as well with how quick he is. That gap already down to 0.8 of a second to the race leader. Costantini is going through the ringer. He wants to get onto the back of Lemonek, and I would argue here, Peter, get onto the back and pit, force the hand of everyone else.
Well, this is the question, isn't it? Because the moment the drivers have started on the medium tyre, we expect them to switch to the hard for the second stint. Now, the hard is, of course, a little bit more durable, doesn't have the ultimate performance of the medium, but it will last longer. So you maybe don't want to split the race in half in terms of a pit stop. You want to pit before half distance on the softer tyre, which they're on right now. So I think we could see cars coming in very soon. And Costantini, well, he is just pulling car lengths out of the leading pair. I saw Lemonnick making some adjustments in the cockpit going past start-finish line. He doesn't go in this time, so I wonder. Very much shadow games at the front here, but Costantini was great pace the last couple of laps.
And we do have our first taker in the pits, and it was the race winner from round 1 of the championship. Championship leader is in Kenneth.
Now Florian Lebigre is in pit road and seems to be the only driver, Jake, to come in, the lonesome man on pit lane as the entire field tries to scatter. Here's a look at the replay. What might have happened near the rear of the field. You see this pass, or attempted pass on the outside. Well, that was the pass right there. Contact. Car goes off into the gravel traps. And that was immediately tough there. Car will lose a couple of spots. And here goes Costantini. Fight for second. Easily decided through the hairpin. Costantini with a shot at the race lead if he can get to Emery.
Yeah, he will try and get there. That was Jakob Behrens who found himself dropping those couple of places there with the contact up the top at Cito Pond. But Michele Costantini is looking for track position, and he is not going to wait. He knows that the number 66 machine is now starting to motor, and Michele is hitting that phase of the race where he knows how crucial it is to go out there, to be aggressive and to take what he wants. At this point, we are now sitting at the phase where everyone wants to go through. Race leader is in. Matt Emery decides Peter to dive.
Well, game on then. Let's see how the others react to it. We saw Matt Emery leading the race for the majority of that opening stint, so he will have likely used the most fuel, whereas Costantini, he'd been sitting very much quietly in the leading bunch until he made his charge there in the last few laps. So a few more coming onto pit lane, Espes, Toth and Chin as well.
Yeah, so almost everybody going to dive. Both of the Wave Italy cars then in the pits. You got David Toth, of course, there for our Irish competition. He's dived in, but it's Costantini, Lemonnick, Fuller, your top 3. As it stands at the moment, the pit stop cycle very much in play at this moment. Now, we also need to talk about the slight underfill that some drivers made last week to gain positions. That's how Florian Lebigre took the opening race of the championship. He took a slight underfill compared to his rivals. He's not able to be in the same position to really make much of that this time, but look at this. One of the Veloce Vex cars there. That will be the other one, Tamas Simon, who's looking to try and get close there, trying to pass Michael Jani in the Stormforce Gaming car there, Kenneth.
Yeah, the Hungarian here, Tamas Simon, looking to get away here from Michael Jani in the 92. That Stormforce racing machine is ahead for the Ayrton Senna chicane, and this is going to be really interesting here. We've seen the drivers, Jake, who have come down pit road. They've elected for the hard tire. Are we going to see a group? Yes, we will, at least in front of these two. It looks like Simone Maria Marceno is in. Same deal for Daniel Chivisciabo, and more others hitting pit road. Michele Costantini, Przemysław Lemonnick, a bulk of your leaders, Jake, in at lap 15.
The only one who didn't was the number 7, Marcos Nunez, there for the Virtual Racing School team. He's the only one who decided not to make that call. He'll go out longer than everyone else. This is going to be a battle now off of the pit lane to see who is going to end up where. Michele Costantini is going to look around and see that Matt Emery's gone through. There's Tamas Simon there with that's Gael Valero, who was second last time out, just behind him, who's going to need a little bit of luck to get himself up further forward in this field. But as the pit stop window has cycled out, Emery has remained ahead of Michele Costantini, Peter.
And it's a disaster for former race leader Pablo Espes. He's had a pit stop of 46.9 seconds. That looks to me about 40 seconds longer than everyone else. Looks like a penalty for a speeding in pit lane. So what a disaster. And in a field as tight and as close as this with some of the best virtual racers in the world, that ruins your race.
It absolutely does. There is Marcos Nunez, number 7, out there in the Virtual Racing School car as he went a lap quicker than everyone else. He'll dive into the pits, and it's such a narrow turn-in to get it stopped into the pits. It's very easy to get yourself into that position and almost loop it on the inside because you're trying to keep as much speed. Gael Valero now will lead some laps in the number 33 car. He stays out, so too does Jakub Maciejewski, the second of the Drago Esports cars, but 3 in, 2 staying out at the moment. Deck is also there, and this is Matt Emery. This is your race leader at the moment with net race leader, I should say, with Lemonnick and co there. And he's going to fly by those in the pits, and he will very comfortably regain the net race lead against the likes, of course, of Marcos Nunez, Kenneth.
No problem whatsoever for Matt Emery. The problem, though, was that when Michele Costantini came out of pit road, Emery was about right in front of him. So it wasn't necessarily that much of a gain for the driver of the 34 machine. He definitely felt like he could probably get a little more of a gap between himself and Costantini. And as you watch Valero stay out here in the race lead with Maciejewski and Jacob Reed right behind them in the top 3. I guess these drivers want to do the same thing that some did at Spa that Peter alluded to, underfilling the car, making sure they can go as long as possible and get the better tire life by the end of this race. But as they get through the Ayrton Senna chicane, get through Jorge Lorenzo, the final corner, turn 13 in a couple of moments, we'll see if they come in, and here comes Maciejewski in for the lane.
It was Gael Valero making the stop. Maciejewski stays out, but that there was a huge move there to come in. Gael Valero very nearly missed it entirely coming into the pits there, Peter. He was pretty much on the limit of late decision. Do I stop or do I don't?
Yeah, very tight in there, and if you cross the line too much, you can get a penalty, and it's a race-ending penalty. You get a huge penalty to be served in the pits. So our net leader then, Matt Emery. What a story this would be, not in the top 10 in the championship coming in here.
Well, he saw that he had great pace at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Were it not for the tangles, Kenneth, that he had in the late stages of the race, he was on to fight for a top 5.
And he had strategy too. Remember that he stayed out longer than almost anybody else in the field at that main pit stop. It gave him a chance to run up front, get some experience leading the field at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and now he's just putting the speed to the test. He has pulled away almost half a second now over Michele Costantini, as here's Jacob Reed in the number 31 machine. Reed, the driver from Worcester, United Kingdom, trying to hold on to second place, and a beautiful inspired livery, wouldn't you say, Jake?
I would. It's got British Racing green on it, and it's got the fabled yellow stripe. It is as classic as a classic livery can be from a driver who did ply his trade for a long time in the classics here in iRacing. The Lotus 49s, the Lotus 79s, an incredible driver who's gone throughout the open wheel ranks to get to where he's got to, but he is almost a full pit stop behind your net race leader, who's in 3rd place right now, and that's going to be a wake-up call for him, that he's got to find a little bit more out there. And as everyone has stayed out again for another lap, they're going to go as far as they can and try and extend their stints as far as they can, because even though they're trying to go on that hard or go to that hard tyre, so to speak, at the end of that stint, Peter, there are some drivers out there that if you can get to 23 laps on your stint, go and make the tank full. 10 laps on the soft tyre, could you bite that bullet?
You could try it, that's for sure. I mean, it seems like Maciejewski, Reed, they've gone for the hard tyre first, and then we'll switch to another at the pit stop. The others have gone for the medium first, and therefore a shorter stint on the first half of the race, and then gone on to the harder tyre for the run to the flag. The problem that Reed's going to have here now is he's going to be caught by the leaders very soon. Now, this is for position. This is not a blue flag situation, but Reed's going to play this pretty clever, and as does Matt Emery.
For Jacob Reed to come in at some point, if he stays out any longer, the damages are going to be oh so grandioso that it's going to physically take him out of this race. At this point, you're right on board with Costantini, and yeah, I'm surprised, Jake, that he did not get into the rear end of Emery rather on that turn, and he's going to look again. And it looks like some mental games being played here, Jake. He wants Emery to bite the bullet. Costantini knows what's at stake here with around 15 laps to go. He's trying his best to break that defense.
He is trying to break that defense. He is trying to do as much as he can to find that overtake that puts him up another position and into the net race lead, with Maciejewski yet to come in and make that pit stop. But he also knows as well that he will have some help, as in comes Maciejewski then. He will dive into the pits, and everybody now should cycle into their positions for what is the second half of this race to find the result that is a race victory. In also comes Jacob Reed to make his stop, so that's as far as they go. Matt Emery will now resume control at the front of this field and take the race lead at this point. Costantini second, Lemonek in third, and I'll tell you what, give some credit here to Ben Fuller. He's at 1.3 seconds. He really benefited, Peter, from the fact that the lap traffic held up for half a lap in the most difficult section of this circuit. Your front three at the moment.
It certainly kept him in the reckoning. He'll have to put some amazing pace together to catch this leading three, but that we'll see if Emery, Costantini and Lemonek start knocking lumps out of each other in the pursuit of the lead, and then the gap will close up very, very quickly. Emery goes very, very defensive there over Costantini, trying to make the move with Lemonek just taking a watching brief at the moment, just seeing what the story is as they head into the second part of the circuit.
And I tell you what, I would love to see how well the likes then of Przemysław Lemonek can do, because that Drago Racing team, Kenneth, is one of the youngest teams out there in terms of sim racing in this field. They are a team that brought themselves together with just the natural talent that is there in the Polish sim racing scene, a Polish sim racing scene that has been strong ever since the early 2000s. That's how strong that sim racing scene has been. It's gone quietly under the radar, and the amount of talent that they have with Maciejewski, with Przemysław Lemonek, and even you look in terms of where they've been in sim racing, like Nikodem Wisniewski and Kuba Brzezinski, those sorts of drivers, it's a flourishing scene. You've got an incredibly talented driver in third place, looking to try and get Drago's first ever, I would say, big series sim racing win.
And for Lemonek, Jake, remember his state in 2021 when he raced in this series. He was on a Titan team, RAG Esports, which is battling Apex for the championship. They had a lot of great runs over the season, and you could tell the drivers behind the wheel had so much talent. Lemonek being one of those. Here comes the battle for the lead into the corner. Costantini has it almost, but Emery shuts the door on him. He's going to hold on to the lead for now.
He looks nonplussed as Matt Emery here. He's not feeling any, well, he will be feeling pressure, but he's not showing it at this point. Everything is fine. Everything is calm. There is nothing there. And I tell you what, Peter, he's doing very well to see out of 1.5 eyes, the way that his right-hand side of his fringe is going over one of his eyes.
He needs to get a new hair gel sponsor, I think, to keep that out of the way for next week. But defending very well here is Matt Emery against one of the real seasoned competitors of iRacing in the open wheel world, and indeed the high downforce world. Don't forget, Michele Costantini is an absolute demon in a Le Mans prototype.
There we go.
Well as he goes.
Oh, the door just shut. Look at Lemonek. He manages to find the gap. He prizes it open there with a crowbar. Thank you very much. Michele Costantini, wake up. Back down into third position, but he's got his teammate now behind him, Ben Fuller. Eduardo Leo also into the mix. We got 5 at the front. Here comes Przemysław up at Cito Pons. He can't find it.
Almost a Kyrie Irving crossover there for Lemonek on Matt Emery, and that was the best position that you could be in. Third place as the top two go at it. Lemonek's going to take the outside contact. He's going to go up the track, darts to fourth, almost fifth. Emery's going to hold on, and Ben Fuller for the Apex Racing team is going to slot into third.
The margins are so finite, and there you see it in all of its glory. Matt Emery is defending every corner like it's the last lap of this race, and he's got to do that 12 more times, Peter.
That's going to be a very tough task, and now he's got both Apex Racing cars queued up behind him. Michele Costantini, who really triggered off this big bunch group by trying to go for that move into turn one, and that brought everyone back into the picture. Ben Fuller now all of a sudden back in contention for the race. Remember, he was going through the gravel 10 laps ago at the opening corner, so really, really tight here at the front of the field. 11 laps to go. Emery defending with everything he's got.
Watch out for the car in sixth there, Kenneth. That's your championship leader, Florian Lebigra. Where has he come from in this race?
Well, he has come from that severe undercut. Remember, Jake, that he made earlier on in this race, the first driver out of everyone in the field to come down pit road. But when you have the blends go the way they did, and when you have all of this fighting, making them lose time in the main pack, Lebigra's just chilling where he's at and could have an opportunity, but he needs to get a little closer. Half a second seems to be the best point of attack when he can get the draft on everybody in front. And as these front 5 or so are holding each other up, Lebigra can just put in lap after lap after lap, some of them faster than the ones up front, and he can try and get a podium or a win of his own. But he'll just have to see what these all 5 do with 10 laps to go next.
Is on board now with the Hoosier, Ben Fuller from Indianapolis, Indiana. He now starts to think about third place and think, can I get second? Can I get first? This a complete reversal on form from where they were 1 week ago. They're up in the positions where they know they can challenge in this race. But with Przemek Lemonek and the very calm Eduardo Leo, very unlike his name there, in 5th position, this is going to be a race where they're not going to know whether they're attacking or defending, and all of a sudden that gap extends out now to 0.4 of a second. I wonder how much Costantini here, Peter, has been using those tyres over the opening stages and hasn't got the angle to go and attack. It's either that or he's trying to cool those tyres off to go for one big push in about 2 or 3 laps.
He might be worried about bringing championship leader Florian Lebiger into the mix as well, because if this lead group keep fighting, that is exactly what will happen. Lebiger, his tyres aren't that much older than the leading group. He pitted 2 laps before, so he should have fairly similar rubber enough to get involved in the fight if he is brought into it, if they start fighting here at the front. But still, Emery holding on really, really strong at the front of the field. Now, the drivers have to be careful. They have 17 iRacing incident point limits, so 1 for each breach of track limits. The drivers got to be careful of that. They get a warning at that point and a drive-through if they keep going, so they've got to be careful.
They will need to work with trepidation in terms of how they make those moves. On board with Eduardo Leo, the man from Milan. He will know that he is 6 miles away from the season finale over in Monza, as he will now start to build his championship efforts up and find every place he can in the number 23 machine. But he's going to have to try and pick them off one step at a time. And he will look at that group in front, say with 9 laps to go, I don't want to do everything immediately. I don't want to go out there, be too aggressive and take that train away, Kenneth. He's going to want to try and make this move, go up through the train in a way that is going to be beneficial to stay within about 0.5 seconds to 0.7 of a second to keep the draft as strong as possible.
But at the same time, the time is running out. We're going to come up to 8 laps to go. So if Leo is going to act, he needs to act rather quickly on the drivers in front of him. And Leo's championship pursuit really starts today, if you think about it. He finished 26th, dead last at Circuito Spa-Francorchamps 1 week ago. So for Eduardo Leo, the Italian driver for VRS Racing, he's going to need this one desperately, points-wise, if he wants to battle for that championship at season's end. He's going to have to strategically get by these two. The problem is Apex Racing is 2nd and 3rd. They're not going to budge when they've got a team effort on the line.
What's more as well is that the fastest lap bonus point is going to be very difficult to come by on the hard compound tyre. That's in the hands of Manuel Kubo Torres. He might just keep that in 8th place as now the charge goes through. Keep an eye on Maciejewski as well in the late stages of this race. Remember, he's on the best strategy of everyone else. He's already now up into 12th position, but for more information, if you want to get in on this, start your iRacing career today, you can log on to iRacing.com and get yourself in on the action. You could be one of these drivers, one of the 26, if you qualify yourself in and get yourself part of your Grand Prix Turn Racing iRacing Series. 5 at the front with 8 laps to go. Emery holding the weight of the world behind him. It is you shall not pass sim racing here, Peter.
That it is. Watching, interestingly, coming through the very fast blind right-hander of Cito Pons, Costantini, if he gets too close to Emery, just getting a little bit of aero push, it seems. So going to keep an eye out for that, because that's an important corner for setting up the run down into the hairpin. And, well, they're all chasing the grand prize, $10,000 for our champion, but $300 for our winner every single race, $200 for second, and $100 for third. So there's a lot of money on the line here for these drivers.
And it will also mean later on in the season, if you're out of championship contention, you can still bounty hunt for money. And that is what we're going to be seeing here. Drivers are going to have lots of different reasons to go out there and try and push for a race victory. The thrill of victory should come first and foremost. But Michele Costantini there in second. There's a little look further back then as the pass gets made. They almost start tripping up over each other there. There's Michael Jani, there's Jakub Maciejewski and co. They're all there. In fact, it's even further back. That's Valero, Sibi Szabo and Tamas Shimon. That's there. That's for 13th position. They're fighting out here right now, Kenneth, for 3, 2 and 1 point.
Yeah, these drivers, all 3 of them started around the mid-pack, Jake, so they're just sort of getting what they can get at this stage of the event. They haven't had outstanding races, but they haven't had races that they want to forget. They've just been hanging around where they're at. The worst starter out of the 3 is 19th place, and that's Espargaro Valero holding on to that 14th spot. So we'll keep an eye on this trio. And then you mentioned it with Michael Jani, Maciejewski. They've got David Toth and Simone Maria Marcino right in front of them. They're also a battle to think about as well on the closing stages as we watch 13th still go at it.
Can I just say how impressive is here comes Toth looking for the move there. Thomas Simon there in the background was searching for it, didn't get it. Top 15 here, Peter, are still split by just 8 seconds.
It just shows you how impressive the field is here in this championship. The fact that Tamas Shimon, a driver of his quality, particularly in a single-seater, is fighting for 14th place just shows you how tight that it is. David Toth going now on the defensive. Whoa, going into turn 1 and overtaken by Maciejewski.
Well, Maciejewski here, this is the key. He's on a medium, everyone else is on hards, Kenneth.
Yeah, so he's got the better tire over the shorter run, and with 6 laps to go, that's prime time for those yellow-walled medium tires. But the question is, can he get around Maria Marcino? And even then, he's got a decent gap to the next car in line, Manuel Cubo Torres. So for Maciejewski, it's a strategy that could have worked and possibly might have gone in his favor, but it's just been hanging around there. Maciejewski does have some points on the line, though, Jake.
And those points are going to be crucial when you consider 1 week from today, we're going to be jumping over to Texas Motor Speedway. A shorter style oval is sure to get everybody looking around and say, well, how much can I bank coming out of that race, round 3 of the championship? You can join us at 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time to get yourself in on the action then for that one. At the front it remains Emery, Costantini, Fuller, Lemonek and Leo, your top 5. But Ben Fuller is playing rear gunner at this point. He's giving Costantini what he wants. Hand-to-hand combat, mano a mano here, Peter.
You bet it is, and Emery continuing to defend from Costantini. They put a tiny bit of distance between themselves and Fuller, so Costantini might just be biding his time here, waiting for an opportunity, trying to force Matt Emery into a mistake. Remember, these cars are so difficult to drive. They are 900 horsepower. They only weigh 600 kilograms, so they're just a real handful. And Emery really having to go defensive there as well. Costantini's going to try and go around the outside. Got to be careful though, and again, just struggles to get the power down. If you put in any just slight slither, too much throttle, and you get too much power going through the rear wheels, these cars will spin. They're animals.
They are, and it's slightly off camber down there at Drysack Corner, the former Drysack Corner, the corner Danny Pedrosa, because you are then starting to struggle to try and get that back up the hill and back on forcing. It's not massive amounts there that you have to worry about. Now, a massive kick over that inside curve for the Ayrton Senna chicane suddenly gives Matt Emery about 2 laps worth of safety there. Costantini with a rare mistake there to try and go through, as now every position is worth its weight.
And if Emery, Jake, can hold on and pull away at that specific last sector of the Circuito de Jerez, then that means that Emery can just stay there for the win and get that checkered flag. As we watch a battle for the back, Simone Maria Marcino, him and Florian Lebig were going at it. Michael Jani will split the difference in the middle. That's about 4 or 5 cars, Jake, in a large pack coming out of turns 1 through 4.
Yeah, so Florian Lebigra's tyres now are starting to pay the price, and he's now falling like a stone back through the field. Nothing that he can do about it. Great heads-up awareness from Michael Jani. He's got an F3 driver as his spotter, Peter. He's got Alex Dunn.
Well, that's who you need in your corner, isn't it, to give you the advice in these pressure situations. It seems like a lot of drivers are struggling with grip now. Lebiga has just dropped like a stone, like you said. But Costantini really wild and leery all of a sudden. With as soon as you're trying to get the power on coming out of the slow corners, the rear of that car just wiggling around. In contrast to that, looks like Emery was more or less in control. A little bit of a wiggle there, but just handling the pressure so well.
He has led this race since lap 5 of this race. He has not wanted to let that go. Net race lead included with that. Ben Fuller, number 55, is looking to try and get into the mix, and he will feel if Michele Costantini's 66 machine hasn't been able to make the pass, then maybe I might have a go and try and make those moves and go forward. But remember, they're going to play that game where they want both of those cars come the end of the season in that championship battle. If they start racing amongst each other, Kenneth, and something happens and you get rule 1 of sim racing, they're not going to want to be in that situation, so they are going to play it nice.
And the last thing you want to do is get your boss Alex Simpson mad if you wreck each other going at it for second place instead of getting a 1-2 finish for the team. And they're going to need that. They finished inside the top 10 at Circuito Spa-Francorchamps last week. But again, it could have been an easy, dominant victory for Apex Racing Team. They've got something they want to prove here in round number 2. But Fuller really needs to cooperate here with Costantini if they want to make this pass on Emery happen. But Matt has just been so composed. You'd figure that you have two of the Titans in this series right behind you that you'd probably fold under pressure. But Emery is shining here. 2 laps to go as they'll come out of Jorge Lorenzo Curva this time by.
Well, he will know that 13th place last time out the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, Matt Emery, was not good enough. With a couple of popsicle sticks now in the air, it is full focus time. 6 cars that could come out and potentially win this race, but right now it's about 2. Michele Costantini, if you can't get it done in the traditional places, you're going to have to try untraditional, so to speak, there. Michelin Corner, not often a place you can make a pass, but there was a little thought, a small thought about it, Peter.
There was. I think it was quickly put to the back of the brain, though, because it was never going to work in there. However, Matt Emery didn't have a little bit of a wiggle coming out of there. Now, lap traffic with 2 laps to go. Charles Sears is going to look in his mirrors and see the leaders coming through. Great stuff from Charles there. Allows the leaders to go through. Doesn't interfere with the leading battle. Fantastic stuff there. But can Emery hold Costantini off? That's the question.
I tell you what, great move by Eduardo Leo. He did an incredible job of taking advantage of the lap traffic, stealing a place on a pretty unswitched on Przemysław Lemonek at that point. He's now up to 4, but has he left it too little too late? Lap and a bit to go here, Kenneth, and this is where Costantini's going to have to pull the pin.
Well, remember, Jake, we were talking about the 2 prime opportunities at making a pass here at Jerez. Well, now, if you're Costantini, you have to think about every single corner and what you can do to get around Matt Emery. We have seen before, Jake, as we get the white flag, that Michele Costantini has tried at Curva Dani Pedrosa. We'll see if he tries it again, but he has to act now on this last lap.
Up the hill, Michelin Corner, turn 2. It's all about setup. The dirty air is going to hurt at every single stage. 6 to the party and 3 to the podium. 1 to the victory, and everyone knows that the numbers mean everything come the end of the season. Over the top of Cito Ponds and down the hill. Emery's got himself almost 0.3 of a second, weaving a little bit on the straight. Should have the gap. Here comes Michele from a mile back. He can't get it slowed up, and Emery holds now. He's got half a lap. No mistakes from here, and he might, just might, get the biggest win of his sim racing career. Round they go. Through now towards Angel Nieto Corner itself. Palucci, the most famous one, with the virtual fans cheering on in unison. Now as they head through the Ayrton Senna chicane of one of the most famous racers ever to grace it on 4. And now coming out of there, Matt Emery knows he's got 1 corner to hold, and it's Jorge Lorenzo. Pablo Espes will steal the fast lap point away. Trouble's there for 3rd as both Fuller and Nunez find themselves in trouble. Matt Emery, with a smile and a fist pump, wins at Jerez.
Magnificent stuff there. Well, if you can lip read there, it was come on, let's go, or vamos, as they say in this part of the world. What a measured drive there from Matt Emery under huge pressure from one of the best in the business, and he held it off. Amazing.
That was defense personified. Kenneth will take a replay of what's happened there at the final corner. What an incredible last race from Matt Emery. But this is Ben Fuller and Eduardo Leo. Leo knows he's got to go for everything, and he just leaves it too late. Just sees it's not on and runs into the back of him.
He hopped on the brakes rather late in that final corner. You could see the car step out to the left right before he gets into Ben Fuller, and I'm sure Fuller, after the struggles that he faced, spinning from the lead at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, this contact with Eduardo Lero is not going to make him happy whatsoever. He drops through the field to 11th, Jake, at the end of this one. But Matt Emery sustaining his defense and getting his first career Grand Prix Turn iRacing Series win.
In 43 minutes and 36 seconds, an incredible result with Michele Costantini and Przemysław Lemonek picking up a podium there for Drago. He'll be so happy about that. With Eduardo Leo and Marcos Nunez 4th and 5th, it's Jakub Maciejewski's alternative strategy that picks up 6th. Manuel Kubo Torres will finish off in 7th ahead of Simone Maria Marcheno. Michael Janney for Storm Force Gaming will end up in 9th ahead of the SDK racing car there in 10th position. Ben Fuller will be so nonplussed about today, on for a podium, back in 11th place. It's not his fault, and nothing that the stewards will do over the course of the week is going to take those or give those points back to him that he's lost. The likes of Tamás Simon there in 13th with David Top and Daniel Sivichavo, all the Hungarians 12th through 14th. You look back there, down a few drivers not getting points, not getting what they want. Struggles today, Pablo Espes, Xavi Ross, Carlos Fenollosa, the only real retirement in this race, 2-0 points for him. Someone who maybe came into this championship as an outsider, now fully out of it as he's gone through. But a chance to talk to your race winner right now. Peter Mackay is stood by with Veloce Vex, Matt Emery.
Matt, welcome and congratulations. That was just a superb drive. Tell us what was going through your mind in those closing stages.
Going through my mind, I can't really believe it. You know, coming into the season, I was expecting maybe aiming for the top 10 sort of maximum as a rookie, and then I really surprised myself to put it on the front row. I was again expecting top 10 at best, and in the last few laps, I was just trying to keep the tyres alive. The rears, obviously, the traction zones are awful around here, so the rears you really have to look after them. So I was managing the pace a bit through the whole race and the whole stint, and I was just able to get enough of a gap after the last corner or so, and then I could hold the lead.
And during that battle, where was it that Michele was really putting the pressure on? Because it's such a difficult lap here at Jerez. Where was it where he was getting closest, where you were most under pressure, do you think?
I think he was really strong turn 1 and 2, because he seemed to close up, obviously get the slipstream down the main straight. But turn 1 he was very strong, turn 2 as well. I think turn 4, the long right-hander, seemed a bit stronger maybe, which was really useful because obviously there's the overtaking opportunity into the next corner. But yeah, he was really strong everywhere, to be honest. And luckily the second half of the lap I wasn't too bad, so I could keep the gap that I needed.
You're more than not bad. That was a fantastic performance, Matt. Congratulations on the win and good luck at the next round next week.
Cheers, thanks guys. Thank you.
So now we'll move on to second place. Michele Costantini joins us now. And Michele, I'm sure that was a hard-earned P2, and you were so close to getting that victory, trying to challenge Matt Emery in the closing laps. What did you feel there was missing in those last laps here at Jerez to possibly give you your first win of the year?
Yeah, it was very tough at the end there. Extremely hard to make a move. All of our tires were pretty much done at the end, I'm sure. Matt and yeah, everyone's tires were done. There, we did really some good prep this week, so yeah, really got it for him. But yeah, P2 is okay, and yeah, that's it.
And off of the struggles last week at Circuito Spa-Francorchamps, you were still able to muster a 7th place finish. But how rewarding is this 2nd place finish now that you were able to put a complete race together, avoid some of the issues all race long, and now as you head to race number 3 at Texas Motor Speedway, you've got some momentum on your side?
Yeah, it's good, you know. We kind of messed up the strategy a bit in Spa. It didn't really go our way with the softs at the start. Here it wasn't really about strategy, it was just mostly about qualifying well, and then yeah, just racecraft after that, which I think we all did a good job up front. Yeah, apart from the last lap, unfortunately, but yeah, I think the racing between me and Matt was pretty nice. Even with Lemonek as well there, we had some really nice racing up until the last lap.
A lot of fun watching you in the field on track here today from Jerez. Michele, on behalf of our entire broadcast team, congratulations on the 2nd place finish, and we'll see you at our first ever IR1 Oval race next week at Texas.
Thank you, guys.
That's Michele Costantini from the Apex Racing team. We'll turn it over, Peter Mackay, to Przemysław Lemonek, who comes home in 3rd.
Przemysław, that was a fantastic podium there as well. How are you feeling after that race?
I feel good. Finally podium in this championship after a lot of races.
Yeah, it's been a long journey to get to here, but looking at these first 2 rounds, a 6th place and a 3rd place is going to put you in a good position in the championship. Are you pleased with that after the first 2 rounds?
Yes, I am pleased. 2 years ago, I was crashing in first 7 races. I had, I think, 15 points after them. I was running high but crashing. So this time I decided to use my brain a little bit more, and it's working out.
Is working very well. Now, next week we go to Texas Motor Speedway. The first time we've seen oval racing. It's a completely different skill. Tell me what you're thinking about that.
I have 5 oval races in iRacing and finished 1 of them.
It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge, that's for sure. Primoslav, welcome to the podium. Well done, and good luck for next week.
Thank you, thank you. I hope to finish the race in Texas, maybe score some points, but it's gonna be funny. You can be sure about that.
Well, there you have it. Przemysław Lemonek finishing off in 3rd position overall in that race. And the championship could not be any tighter up at the top. 5 points split the top 6 drivers. Marcos Nunez will walk into Texas a championship leader in the virtual racing school colours. You will know as he goes through. There's a tie as well with Michele Costantini there, but he knows that does the Apex Racing Team driver that he will have a lot of work to do as he will look to try and make his progress as he goes forward. Matt Emery jumps up into 4th position. Florian Lebigra drops down into P6, and Ben Fuller back there in 10th position. Well, he can thank that it's been so chaotic at the front. He is still well within striking distance as he goes through. But next week, it's Texas Motor Speedway. It is pretty much a case of a track which is going to feel so short track as it goes through. Kenneth, you are jumping out of your seat about this.
Hey, how about it, Jake? First oval race for these Dallara IRL1s. Remember when they made that update and gave them oval setups? Well, now we're going to put it to the test with the best 26 in this series. Texas is going to be so much fun. This track is oh so fast, and it gets disorienting, Jake, when you put laps around at around 240 miles an hour. I'm excited for next Thursday.
I'm excited as well. You can only catch it right here with us at iRacing. If you haven't already, now is the time to get that booked in your calendar and make sure that you're watching it with us. But in terms of everything that is about with iRacing, I want to give you a massive thanks to go and get this all done. What an incredible amount of racing. It was a case of a great defense. Nobody could find a way past Matt Emery. His Veloce is vexed, and everyone knows that Texas is next. And this is everything you could ask for, and then some. We'll see you in a week.